So, Tim, hit us. Why is it fantastic for China?
Well, basically, you think about it, it's Tim Cook's job and also the job of Satya Nadella and all the big leaders of US tech companies to hire the best people from around the world, no matter where they're from. They're not going to limit themselves to the US. Now, if they can't get those people to come in here and work in, say, Cupertino, they're going to have to sit them somewhere else. And we've seen this through the H-1B process. The visas take a long time, and I know for a fact that Apple, for example, has had people sit in other places like in Japan waiting for visas. So they sit there and they work away and they do what they're supposed to do before they can get to Cupertino and work here. Now, if they're going to stop, if the US government is going to stop more and more people from coming in, at some point leaders in the US tech companies are going to say, you know what, let's just put more people overseas where we don't face that problem. One of those places will be China, absolutely sure of it, because Apple, for example, has already set up an R&D center in Shenzhen in southern China. They have R&D centers also around the world. And if there's going to be problems and they can't really plan for when their staff can get into the US and work here full time, they're just going to say, well, you know what, let's just put them somewhere else and work there. That's bad for the US because then, of course, local hires in places like China or Japan will learn from these people who are being hired by, employed by US companies, but they're going to learn from them and work alongside them and then can take that knowledge to other companies in, say, in China or in Japan. And that's really not going to be good for the US.
And build an ecosystem elsewhere. David, are you hearing from the companies you talk to, the leaders that you're talking to, that they're thinking of expanding, say, Microsoft's Canadian R&D center that they've already had? Are you expecting some of this talent to remain abroad?
I think it's early for that kind of, radical move. But I think Tim's expressing a legitimate set of concerns that many of us have about what could happen to the tech industry if these immigration attitudes continue to get more and more restrictive, because that's really what it's all about. And companies generally, and tech companies in particular, benefit tremendously from more open immigration. In fact, there's an article today in the New York Times about how the entire economy's growth would be dramatically increased if we had more immigration broadly. And immigration and migration is generally believed by economists to be an almost unmitigated positive for economic growth in every country. So, and look, we don't want growth to slow down in China and elsewhere, but let's keep the doors open. I do think maybe some readjustments of the H-1B visa program could be positive for the tech industry. We don't really know what's coming. I think it's easy to imagine it being negative. But I just also want to say, you got to really credit Steve Case. He has been championing tech development in the center of this country and all across America, away from the centers, for a long time, and he really believes in it. And he's so right that we've got to get entrepreneurship and job creation happening across the United States, not just in the coasts east and west.
Tim, I remember when Brexit occurred and I was based in Berlin, and suddenly the PR mantle went up. Berlin started sending trailblazers over to London. They put buses with signs up saying, come to Berlin, build your entrepreneurial future with us rather than London. Is the same sort of PR going to be happening back home in Taipei? We understand, our producer was just telling us she's seeing it already in Singapore.
Yeah, look, many countries in Asia actually do want to get these, the high-end, the best skilled workers from around the world to work in their countries. Taiwan, for example, that also has a new leadership since last year, are relaxing the rules for foreigners to go and work in Taiwan. Highly educated foreigners who can be founders or can be good engineers for companies there. It was restricted before. They're easing those restrictions. We're going to see that happen right through Asia, right around the world, even in Europe and other places, because countries know that they need to attract the best talent, and that talent will add to their economy and help them improve and grow. And so any opportunity that's going to be a weakness for the US is absolutely an opportunity for anywhere else.